You don't have to, but we are peer pressuring you to do it.
What do people do with Funko Pops?
If the movie in any way promotes an anti-leftist perspective, we need to throw it in the trash. You know about movie recap channels? Bane of my fucking existence. Your responsibility when you see a piece of bad art, not to tweet about it, is to make something better.
Welcome back to the BROGAN experience. Ben from Canada has a YouTube channel called Ben from Canada, where he analyzes films positively instead of cynically deconstructing them and complaining about why they suck. So today, we talk about films, and how to like films, and how social media makes it impossible for us to like films, and why we should destroy film Twitter. We also talk about the philosophy of Funko Pops, and Doctor from Canada's hatred of AI movie recap channels. Senor from Canada was one of our first studio guests when we were first starting out, and is the sibling of CJ the X. That's weird. Isn't that weird? I didn't even know that. I'm just learning that now. Kill all your friends and sit back and relax, or I don't know, whatever. I don't care what you do for this one. You can do whatever you want. I don't give a frick.
Oh yeah,
That's
okay.
totally intentional.
Here, cheers.
What is this?
This is in.
You got to take us in.
Do I have to?
You don't have to, but we are peer pressuring you to do it.
Yeah.
You
try
can
it.
put it in and take it out immediately as
I'm gonna
well.
probably do that.
It goes in your lip.
It's so dry.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Okay, they get wet.
Here, cheers.
Can I have a pre-wet one?
Okay, how about this? I'll put it in my mouth. I don't want a full Zen, and then I can give you the rest.
Oh God. Okay. Oh no. Okay.
It's
You start to love it.
You start to love it because you become chemically addicted to nicotine.
No, it's not that.
I'm already chemically.
Yeah, well, it's a different hit. Now, once you have it in your mouth, you want to take a vape hit.
It's gonna get sour. It's gonna get salty. It's gonna burn a little bit.
It's burning.
Yeah, honestly, you couldn't take it out. You will get sick.
okay.
It'll make you sick. Now
It's
that
like evil gum.
now that we
Hiccups a little bit.
Ben from Canada.
Holy
Ben from Canada. That's you. That's you. You're from Canada.
Yeah.
You're Ben from Canada.
Holy shit.
What's up?
Why don't you introduce yourself for our lovely audience?
Okay, I'm Ben from Canada. My catchphrase to people sometimes is, I probably edit for your favorite YouTuber.
Yes, including such hits as
Mr. Sunday Movies, Broey Deschanel, CJ the X, Nathan Zed at a point, Minecraft YouTuber Loverfella at a point, Big Joel.
Big Joel.
This is going to be Thomas Flight, if you're into film YouTube.
Thomas Flight.
I said Mr. Sunday
You
Movies.
said you got a bit of fingers everywhere.
Yeah, I've got a little.
You got
I
your toe in
fingers
every
a lot
pie.
of pies.
Yeah.
That's good.
I worked for a couple people I won't mention, and
And how did we come to know each other?
we came to know each other because you knew Costanza, and then Costanza was visiting. I was friends with Costanza, and then she brought you to church, which was funny. We were going to queer church at the time.
To your gay church.
To the gay church.
Yeah.
And,
I went to gay church.
And you just showed up, and then we went and had a brunch, and we had a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And I liked it. And then you talked about this little studio idea.
Yes, and you were one of the first people in the studio.
I was,
Yes,
I was in the
in
first
back-
Discord call
back
where
when
we were
this
like,
was-
where you were like, all right, bros, if we lock it in now, should we go? Should we go for it? Like, no, absolutely. I think we should all do it. If we're all like ready, let's go.
But also one of the first people in this prototype studio.
yes. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the prototype.
Yes.
Yeah, this was
As Brogan's place.
Yeah,
Which is
not-
where
we
we
have
still,
two studios.
where
wasn't
we still
super-
shoot the.
Has that ever been revealed that it's just my apartment?
Well, it's fine now. We have a real
was your
studio
apartment.
now.
There was that point where there's that painting was on the wall,
yes.
and then there was like JJ, Sisyphus, Ollie Sunvia, you, someone, like 5 people did a video with that painting in the background, and then all the comments were like, wait, where are they?
Yeah, there's like some connection going on between all these disparate YouTube channels.
It was my apartment.
Yeah, that's
The whole time.
That's the big reveal. The big reveal was that the prototype studio was just Brogan's apartment.
Yeah.
oh god. You do this every time? Is this still in?
Yeah, I love them.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah,
I got the water.
and you're also just a general artist.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. And I have my own YouTube channel. But I actually studied acting, so I'm actually like my trade is acting. But then my vocation is editing, probably.
Interesting.
That's how it would describe. But I never feel comfortable saying that it's like just editing or just acting. I mean, I used to be comfortable saying it was just acting because that was like declaring what I wanted it to be, but now I've become more comfortable like, oh no, like you should be proud of your editing business.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't feel like true to say I'm an editor,
Right.
Because I feel like I am an editor and actor. I'm in rehearsal for a play right now, so it's just like it feels.
You are an actor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quantifiably.
Qualifiably. for sure.
Qualifiably.
I literally have a degree
Yeah.
on how to pretend to be other people.
Okay, but so we should probably start with editing.
Yeah, no, please.
Well, editing in films.
That's how you know me.
Visual medium.
Visual, yeah.
Film Twitter. That's the thing we were talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about film Twitter. I'm not on film Twitter.
Me neither at all.
Okay.
I see like I love most movies I see, but I see like 5 movies a year.
Interesting.
Right.
I'm a very low watcher.
See, that's
Yeah.
surprising to me because I would have thought you would have thought that the film quality is getting worse as time goes on.
I like most movies I see. It depends, but I don't see movies that I know I'm not gonna like. Like I'm not gonna go see like the new Marvel movie.
Really? Have you ever seen a Marvel movie?
I saw the first Avengers in theaters when I was a kid.
Was it dope?
Yeah, when I was 12.
Have you ever watched it since?
No.
Should we start there? Should we start at Marvel? Because that's a hot topic.
That is a hot topic.
Yeah.
Mr. Scorsese has said things about it. Well, actually, before we get there, the reason I think about film Twitter a lot because my videos that I go on my channel are all they're all about movies.
Yes.
And if you say anything on the internet about a movie, there is someone who disagrees with you, and a lot of the like extra conversation that happens around like YouTube, Twitter is basically like a forum for YouTube for a while. That's kind of how it was, at least for people on YouTube. That's sort of their secondary like communication platform. And they talk about videos that they've made, and they shit on people or try to get people to unsubscribe from their Patreon.
Wow.
And so like
It's vicious.
Yeah.
It's harsh out there
And
for a film critic. Well, you're not. Well, also, you're not a film critic.
Yes, I'm not a film
That's
critic.
an important part.
Very,
of your,
very
your philosophy,
distinctively.
your ideology, your your artistic perspective.
I am not a critic, and I refuse to be one. I will never be one, but like professionally. But I think like as what I try to do, it is an act of criticism, even just saying something's good and analyzing it. But just being a critic, I don't want to be a critic.
Yes.
I would like to make things rather than talk about.
Yes,
things.
and when you do talk about a movie, it's typically positive.
Yes, almost exclusively.
Right.
I rarely have anything that I want to say publicly that is about a piece of art that I dislike because I don't know how. I feel like there's people out there who can do that job for me. Like I'm not adding anything to the conversation.
Do you feel like the difference is that like not a true critic, but like the way most criticism manifests is very idiosyncratic. Like it's just like there's this movie and this movie exists in this bubble and it's good or bad. And then like I feel like the reason people really hate critics, or like a lot of critics get a lot of hate, is because they don't actually. There's no analysis. There's no like broader connection.
And then he did this.
Yeah, there's no like what does this say? It's just kind of like, oh, this movie is in its own bubble, in its own universe is bad or good or mid.
Yeah. It's really interesting. So there's a lot of ways to go here.
Yeah.
First of all,
we've opened about 12 different tangents.
yeah, I think the best place to start is actually Dunkey's definition of criticism, which is really good. It says that the function of a critic. The function of a critic. His voice.
Function of a critic.
The function of a critic.
Function of a critic is to sort of have your taste be out there and be really consistent in your taste.
Right.
And say what you like, say what you don't like, and then people who watch you will understand your taste, and based on their understanding of your taste, you're actually communicating them two things. Just one is their opinion, and two, an idea about if they'll like something based on your opinion.
Yeah.
If you have a critic who you always disagree with, and they're like, "I love this movie," then you're like, "I probably shouldn't watch this." If you have a critic who you're like, fundamentally we disagree on almost everything. So that's a function for it. People shit on critics though for not having the same opinion as you.
Yeah.
And that's like feels like a personal attack to people. But the thing is, those people who shit on those critics and then give their opinion, they're also doing criticism. So you're shitting on yourself really.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do. Criticism is an act. It's a job, but it's also like it's a perspective. And people giving their perspectives on something critically, that's criticism. So you're being a film critic. So I don't know. People like fans versus critics. It's like you're all critics.
So what makes you different from a critic?
Makes me different from a critic
Because you are analyzing media.
Yes.
And you're giving
Yes.
your take on it.
because I'm not doing it all the time.
Right. Yeah.
I don't make a big habit of it. People
Right.
don't know all my film tastes.
Yeah.
I talk about stuff that I like, and I examine it for the purposes of hopefully educating people or making them look at it or understand why they like it, or change their opinion. If they like close their heart to a piece of art, I'm like, well, maybe open your heart a little bit.
Right.
And they're like, wow, I never saw this before, and actually, it's made me rethink the film. I'm like, yes, I feel like I'm trying to help people engage with art.
Okay.
Which is a little different. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
it's interesting.
If I was a critic, I would be talking about every movie that came out. I would be like tweeting or making a video about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I don't think I'm gonna make a video about that personally. Does that make sense?
Well, why not?
Well, why not?
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen it yet for one.
Oh,
but
okay.
I may not have a strong opinion about it, or I may not have a productive opinion.
Do you feel like most film people go from a critical angle, like do they want to tear things down? Do you feel like that sets you apart, that you're like building stuff up and like you're trying to help people engage with it?
the fact that I do it exclusively? Yeah, I think so. I think,
because I can't think of any other film people that just, positively engage.
Yeah,
Like try to
and
exclusively.
that's weird, isn't it?
Engage.
Yeah.
Because I can think of a ton of people who exclusively shit on things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can think of no shortage of people who are just like bitter. I'm thinking about ER.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an example. Like,
Yeah.
or channels who just build themselves off of outrage. And here's why you should be mad about the Hollywood this week, sort of deal.
Yeah. Like, well, so let's go back to Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Okay. Marvel movies, this is seen as the decline of the West. So I just want to get your guys' takes. So, like, what do you think?
I don't know. It's like it feels kind of old now. It feels like that ship has sailed. It just felt like a blip in history.
Interesting.
Like they made their money. They got,
They told one story,
yeah.
Yeah.
and it finished. And then they're still going.
They're still going.
They got their rabid fans. They got their consumers.
And they have their haters.
They do.
It's weird to become obsessed with it
Yeah.
in any sense. I don't know. I don't know.
firmly agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is weird to become obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I don't think... partially where I think a lot of, like, let's say franchise movie arguing and defending comes from is that I think some people decide to choose something that they loved as their childhood and they make it part of their personality. And that's a really bad thing to do, to make something, an IP or an idea that like a corporation owns, to make that part of your identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then as soon as that thing starts to go wrong or it changes in any way, then you feel personally attacked because people who are in control of your personality have made a decision about it. So of course you're gonna have a hostile reaction to it.
Yeah.
I relate to this as a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Just changing as a YouTuber, I realize like people, if I make a decision that changes how I'm perceived online or whatever, then the me of 4 years ago they grew attached to starts to die.
It's a betrayal.
Yeah, I stop being their comfort character.
Exactly. And that you see that also is kind of related to when audiences turn on their creators for either opinions that they disagree with or like the truth about them.
Right.
You see this sort of language of just like, I'm really disappointed.
Yeah, and then you can't grow or change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should stay the same. And I think that's...
Do you have any diehard fans? Do you have any rabid fans?
I don't know.
You get recognized.
I get recognized for mostly editing. But I don't know if I have any diehard fans. I think there are a couple people, for sure, who are like, I watch your videos and they really help. And those are kind of the people I still make YouTube videos for. I'm like, they haven't heard from me in a while. I should tell them about something.
Yeah.
But I have not attempted to cultivate a community. And that's partially out of fear of that. I don't really want me to be my business. I'd rather my work be my business.
I feel that.
That's okay. Even if you cultivated a community, it wouldn't be real. That's not a community.
I don't know. CJ's got a really good one of people who are like engaging with ideas, reading new books, discussing with each other, forming their own connections. I think that's really valuable and cool. I just wish that I wasn't so terrified of that idea and also wasn't worried or concerned that it wouldn't impact my acting and my art stuff, which I think it does. And that's one of the reasons I'm faceless on YouTube. Because I don't like the idea of people seeing me for who I really am on a regular basis, and then I show up in like a TV show or something, and they're like, "Oh, that's that guy." They won't be able to buy that I'm like a character. He's like Joaquin Phoenix. When do you ever see him in public?
Never.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know what he's really like. So when he shows up in a movie, you're like, "This is a character."
Interesting. Yeah, he's not like a public figure.
Yeah. Or it's like
he's an actor, but he's not a public. You want to be an actor, but you don't want to be a public figure.
I mean, that would be the dream.
Yeah.
I think for any actor.
Yeah.
Is just like, well, because you have Chris Pratt when he shows up, you're like, that's Chris Pratt because you've seen a lot of him. You know what he's like. You know a lot about his life, his religious beliefs, and you're like, that just gets baked into it. And I think it's harmful to performances.
Yeah, my Marvel movie take has always just been, I don't want to have an opinion on this. Like as soon as you start becoming either pro Marvel or anti Marvel, you've lost.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's definitely. I'd be inclined to sort of lean towards that.
Yeah.
I think with Marvel though, my Marvel take is that the whole Infinity Stone thing, that was dope. Loved it. And I'm just aware that they're kind of treading water because they don't really know where they're going next. And they've had a lot of change-ups. They don't really know what's going on. Ownership changed over. Buyer came back, and now they really ballooned how much content volume they're putting out. And I think that's pretty bad. That's not a good way to work on a universe because not everything's on the same page. And now there's apparently talks that they're just going to bring it back down to just 2 or 3 movies and 1 or 2 TV shows a year.
Okay.
And I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then maybe they can build towards something. That's Marvel Universe and like comics has been like through so many like good and bad stuff. And it's like, this is just the same thing.
Let's give this guy a taste of his own medicine. Do. He's going to destroy the city. He's right behind me, isn't he?
They can just retell the same story over and over again.
They certainly can.
I prefer that.
Yeah.
Like how many James Bond movies are there? Like
That's
30?
true. That's true. Maybe that's the destiny of it. I mean, if it is still popular.
Yeah.
But I mean, as soon as people stop watching, then it won't be the thing they're after.
Yeah.
But like, I really liked the story of all these people coming together, and then suddenly space gets involved, and then the world changes, and then a guy comes along and he destroys everybody, and then they're like, oh, we were really bad for 5 years, and then they kill him, and then victory. And then what's the world look like now? I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's no other thing is out there like that.
It's true. They're doing something that no one
nothing else
is
like
doing.
that. At that scale, at that level, at that, grandiosity. And I'm interested. I don't want it to stop. I'd like to see where that goes, and I'd like other people to try doing that because that's interesting new territory for film.
Now, what if I buy a bunch of Funko Pops about these Marvel characters and I make it my identity?
I
What do you
never
think about
understand.
that?
Okay, yeah, this is the thing. I walked into a comic shop recently, and I was like, I've just overcome with this question that had been boiling in the back of my mind, and I just went up to the guy and said, what do people do with Funko Pops? Why do they buy them? And he just said, they just stack them up on a shelf. They usually don't open them.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that it? And he said, yeah. I think I don't get it. I never will get it. But I've got my answer. That's why.
What's why?
Because they want to have it.
Oh,
they just want to put it on the shelf. And
Yeah.
it may be a sort of identity thing. It's just something to do.
And also there's this concept of resale value.
Yeah, that's I don't know about that.
Then it gets dark.
That's a little weird.
Consumerism and identity is really strange because there's a lot of I'm very careful about critiquing what people like.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will be like, oh, that's consumerism, but it's really just they don't like it. Like I have a whiskey collection and I can go against Funko Pops. Like, oh, fucking Funko Pops. It's like, nerds, what the fuck are they doing? And then meanwhile, I go and buy a bottle of
what are you, weirdo alcoholic?
You are a collector of whiskey.
Yeah, exactly.
And it brings you joy.
Yeah. But it's also not like...
It's also trend. It's also it's
a pre-existing thing.
Is this camera is placed right beside all of his whiskey?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why we're looking at this one.
That's the whiskey wall. It's also just like it's a bit more of a tradition. It's a thing. A lot of people have had, whereas Funko Pops have only existed for a little bit. So it's a little more. It's not subject to incredulity. Is that a word? What's that word mean? That's what I wanted to say.
It's subject to it's subject to like skepticism. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also they're consumable. It goes away.
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
It's not forever.
You don't do anything with a Funko Pop. It just sits there.
Yeah.
Where's the value in that thing? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know yet. Maybe it's the value is what it's worth in 50 years when everyone has too many of them.
Yeah.
And they're all worth 1 cent.
Yes. I think it was Lindsay Ellis who said that Baby Groot Funko Pops sound like the currency of a dystopia.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Like what Funko Pops were like the post-apocalyptic currency. I could eat a Funko Pop. I can make it consumable.
You could eat a Funko Pop?
Yeah.
If they made Funko Pops edible,
Consumerism.
I'd buy them.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like little cake Funko Pops.
Yeah. That's a function. See, yeah, that's what I'm looking for is where's the extra function of this thing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
For Iron Man.
But even things have symbolic. They have like a sign value, right? Like watches. Watches all just tell time, but there's $100,000 watches and there's $20 watches, but they all do the same thing. But a watch is a sign value.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you wear an Audemars Piguet or a Rolex, you're signaling something, and there's like a whole world of symbolism within the watch. Yeah. So you're getting like the object, and then you're also getting like the universe of its sign value that you wear with it. But then Funko Pops don't have that.
The only sign value is with other nerds. Like it's nerd cred.
I think that is the kind of what it's for, right? It's to signal that you're part of that community.
Which is strange to me. Not like it's good to be part of community, as we all know. We should be part of community.
Yeah.
But you should also question whether the community is the kind of community that's good for you.
Yes, this is my problem with the word community. Is
Yeah.
like if you own a Funko Pop, then you're part of the same community as a guy who owns the same Funko Pop. That's not real. You got nothing.
community.
Like
Yeah.
using the word community in that sense just seems like an insult to
I
the
can only
concept.
imagine that they're trying to impress their other nerdy friends.
Yeah, I mean that does make sense. And
Do people come over and look at the collection?
That's the question.
think
I don't know.
they
It might
must.
just be a wall behind them for Discord,
you
which
wear-
could be a fake wall.
right.
you wear a Rolex and you drink whiskey. I mean, there's all these use values to things.
Yeah.
Or even like, okay, let's go like pure art, right? Like if I buy a painting I really like,
Sure.
and put it on my wall, I'm not inviting people over constantly to come look at this painting I own, but I look
No.
at it as like, okay, this is a reflection of myself.
Yeah.
For me.
It's something you love.
It's something I love. Like I bought an Evangelion like buildable figure. It was like 130
that's cool.
bucks. Yeah. It's like I don't own anything like that, but I really, really, really love that show.
Yeah.
And like I don't really plan on like showing that off, but it's like I really like this object.
Yeah.
But it's also got like a sense of uniqueness and scarcity.
Yeah.
And Funko Pops are literally factory made and a template
Yeah.
into wacky character from franchise.
Yeah.
And that I'm like,
Is it just the dopamine of buying it?
maybe. Could be.
Yeah, it's just that. Like you just see it like, oh, I have it. I don't have that one.
Right. So
And-
JJ McCullough is my mentor. He's a Funko Pop guy.
Really?
Yes. Big
No
big
way.
Funko Pop guy.
how many does he have?
He watches Funko Pop reviews.
you
I walked
serious?
in on him watching a Funko Pop review.
Wait, what?
And they're like 5 Funko Pops that are yellow.
Wow.
So
You did show me that one. You showed me that content one time. I was baffled actually. Like,
Everything
it's exactly
I
what you're
learn
describing.
about JJ just kind of like baffles me.
Yeah, so I
Contradicts
actually
other things I know about
I can
him.
come at this from a perspective, sort of understanding like the Funko Pop mentality,
Yeah.
a little bit. But even then, I still don't really get it. But like, okay, so look, I'm wearing this anime shirt, right? This is one of JJ's shirts.
Oh, sweet.
I'll show this off. It's Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
And JJ wears anime shirts to simulacra signal that he enjoys whatever anime he's wearing, and he doesn't actually enjoy these things. He doesn't like anime. He's just wearing it as like a very hollow. It's almost a parody of why you would have a Funko Pop, but then he still has the Funko
Sure.
Pops. Like he doesn't consume. He doesn't watch movies. So he'll go and he'll buy the Iron Man Funko Pop, but he's not watching Iron Man. It's
I think,
like
I think that's more valid.
That's more valid.
I like that more because it's like you're pulling a meaning out of it that's not intended to have.
Yeah. I think, well, interesting counter argument to the shirt thing. Like, I very rarely wear any shirt with a logo on it that is anything but the clothing company that made it.
Yeah.
I don't have any, like, movie shirts. Like, I have, like, I have a couple band shirts, but those are, like, smaller bands that I feel like a little more, like, if I met someone who saw the shirt and was like, oh shit, I'd be like, yeah. Like there's actual function to that a little
Yeah.
bit more. But I don't have any Star Wars shirts. I don't have like, I have a PlayStation shirt that CJ owned and then just gave to me, and I'm like, that's nice. Every single piece of merchandise or like franchise stuff that I've got is all gifts because people who I know are like, I know you like this thing, so here's this thing. But I've never bought one. And what's cool about that is that each one of those actually has like a more to it as a story.
Yeah.
Like someone gave me a little mini Thor's hammer because I told them like a big personal story about Captain America and what that movie did for me, and it's like I had like a really cool like emotional response to that
Yeah.
moment in the movie that was very personal to me, and he gave me that, and I'm like, oh, this is good. If I went and bought it, I feel like that would have cheapened it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I just think it's dangerous to have like your identity, your soul tied up in something that someone else owns as a story.
Yeah.
Because it's forever unfolding, and the people are going to... We know what that does now. Companies will milk it for as long as possible and then reboot
Yeah,
it
but
in 20
I also
years.
can't blame someone for identifying with a piece of consumer
True.
culture, especially when there's not a lot to identify or
But there's
identity
more
with these days.
to a person than like that kind of
Being
signifier.
a fan of Iron Man,
Yeah. Like, I want to know, what do you like?
I'm not sure what more there is to it. Truthfully,
Being a fan of Iron Man.
I'd
like that's what JJ.
I think some people...
I could do a whole psychoanalysis.
I think some people just use that as like a shortcut to a personality,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is a little mean, but like...
No, absolutely.
I remember being a nerd and being lonely and identifying with something
this
a
is
lot.
this is the folly of millennials.
Yes, maybe.
We can
but
all agree on that.
But I mean, and then Gen Z is sort of like fandoms and what specific sect of talk are you like? Are you book talk or whatever? Any word ending with talk, that's like an identifier of
Yes.
who you are. And I don't know.
So many worlds I know nothing about.
Exactly.
Well,
There's so many fucking more universes now.
This is a good segue to film Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, give us an intro.
An intro to film Twitter. Film Twitter is a really horrible place that is killing people's ability to engage with movies and storytelling, I think, and art in general. It's a small little, aspect of Twitter and what it is, but I think it's ruining the film industry.
Huh.
A little bit. There are people who I've heard there's been reports of some executives when they're talking about which director to hire, they'll look up on the Rotten Tomatoes score of their last couple movies, and they'll look up the audience score and sort of use that as a judgment, which, is an aggregator. So it's not, but they sort of treating it as real. And there's also like stories of basically film directors getting like really having meltdowns over film Twitter and being insulted all the time. I think it's really bad, but I think it's also bad for the people using it and doing it.
But that's because it's so rabid. Like there's no, it's a negative space.
Yeah.
It's a predominantly negative.
Let's look at this. I'm sure there's some movie that's caused some controversy on film Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we look at this from a specific angle of like one movie and how it gets kind of the human centipede of the movie gets released and then people make videos about it and then film Twitter talks about it. Like what's the kind of process like?
Let's take Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay.
That's the most recent example I can think of that has gone through the large swing of public opinion and argumentation.
They won a bunch of
awards. So that's
Yeah.
So
I saw it.
This movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, comes out and people lose their shit. Oh my god, crazy movie, love it. It's so meaningful. It has like it's got racial consciousness. It's got internet, in my opinion, consciousness. It talks about all the issues that we're dealing with now in life, but also from like a bi-generational perspective. So it's universal.
I love a movie with racial consciousness.
Yeah. Well, genuinely. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And everyone loves it. Then it wins all the Oscars and becomes like a big kind of darling in awards season. And then people start to go, well, was it that good? And then the backlash starts. It's people sort of changing their opinions. And film Twitter calls this revisionism. Like, oh, not the revisionism on XYZ movie. Like people saying like, oh, X-Men was actually good. No, not the revisionism on that. We have to all agree that this was bad.
Right.
So
They want there to be a monolithic opinion about things.
I think so, which is kind of strange. People just sort of they want the record to be straight on whether or not this movie was good, which I think is kind of what Rotten Tomatoes is as well. It's sort of like, let's decide.
That's fascinating.
Universally what
Because
something
like
is.
for a community to function, it needs to have certain values that everyone holds.
Yeah.
And so if there's like too much disparate opinion on like, say, like a movie everyone should have the same opinion about, then it kind of causes discord. And so the people who are like in charge of making sure the community is functioning properly have to go in and be like, no, this is the line. This is the party line. And it's interesting you say revisionism because that's a communist perspective on like, if someone's saying stuff about the Communist Manifesto that's not accurate to what Marx was saying, then the party line people go in, they're like, they literally say that's revisionism.
Wow.
So
Well, I think people are doing like is this good?
That was my camera died.
oh shit,
Oh,
that's fine.
as long as that's still going.
As long as that's still going.
Okay.
Yeah.
There seems to be like a holy war on film Twitter to decide the canon. People are, and they think it's up to them to sort of make sure everybody knows what is good objectively and what is like bad and what we should regret, and fix. And I think people think that by having these discussions in a very public space that they're fixing the film industry.
Right.
Because their opinions are being heard by filmmakers and that they're going to respond. Mm-hmm. I don't buy that, really. I think critical discussion is a lot slower and harsh reactions to whatever product Hollywood has put out, they don't really care. I think they care that people are talking about it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's actually useful. But that's what's being perceived. It's just we have to decide what is canon. We have to decide what is good. And if we all just agree on that, then art will be fixed somehow.
Is there a canon in the same way there's like a Western canon of philosophy and literature? Is there a Western canon of films?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah,
There's canonical films.
So, like in film Twitter, everyone like what do they agree on? Like everyone, what is unanimous on film Twitter? Because there must be something that everyone
The
agrees.
Godfather.
The Godfather.
The original Star Wars.
Never seen The Godfather.
You should watch it. It's really good.
Yeah, Goodfellas is my favorite movie, so I'm sure.
Ooh, yeah, you'd like it then. No, I when I saw The Godfather for the first time, I literally just sat down, and I honestly didn't really enjoy it. But as soon as that, like, the last shot happened, I was like, that was the best movie I've ever seen in my life. It's really like, you just have to, like, accept it. It's like, this is perfection.
This is what makes real world communities just fundamentally different from internet communities. Is like, in a real world community, if someone disagrees with you on some movie, some fundamental movies, it's, you know, you grow to appreciate them and you can live with the differences. But online, it's like they're only their opinion, and just being only your opinion on the internet, it causes a lot more discord and friction, because like anyone can just pop up. And then there's also that market incentive of like, oh, everyone agrees The Godfather's good, I'm gonna make a video about why The Godfather's bad. Actually,
Yeah.
That too. Well, and then on Twitter though, there's also just the dunking. Literally, everyone's just trying to dunk and say, look how much of an idiot this guy is for thinking this thing that we all agree, right? This movie's actually really good, and he's an idiot for thinking it's bad. Ha 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 ha. I think there's like a fear that people will believe that, so we have to treat. We have to bully them.
That's like a purging.
Yeah, trying to like self-regulate.
Yeah, interesting.
Self-discipline. Wait, no, self. What's that? When it's community self. What's that term?
Echo chambers?
I don't know.
No, they self-policing.
Self-policing. Right. Interesting.
So, but then sort of these camps fall in. We can't have one unified thing. So then these two sort of one, and then they become conflated with the culture war.
Yeah.
You have the people who hate live action Little Mermaid for making Ariel black.
Talk about that politics in the movies, because like surely there's the woke film Twitter and the anti-woke film Twitter. Does that track
a little bit? I would say it's a little more complicated. I think there's like a centrist one that is sort of like good movie regardless of politics,
right,
sort of thing. You know, we'll look at Top Gun Maverick, for example, and be like, great movie, and then people are like on the left are like, well, this is military propaganda. And then you have people on the right who say, this is why the woke movies suck.
Yeah.
And this is proof.
This is military propaganda.
Proof that people hate wokeness.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even military propaganda. It's just that it doesn't have any women in it.
right?
Truly. But no, I think there is a centrism in film Twitter.
Oh,
which is a little strange.
Yeah. I don't know how.
It's sort of an aversion to talking about politics in any way, or they sort of talk about it in kind of a neoliberal, like, it's good, the representation. We like that. And then as soon as a movie with a bunch of white people comes out, they're like, perfect, cinema, we love it. Not to say that's bad. Just, there's sort of an anti-politics in some film Twitter discourse. I think more so it's but that's not to say that that's not part of it, but I think that this, when you're a centrist online, then eventually you're going to be tugged one way or the other.
Yeah,
to defend
the center cannot hold even on film Twitter.
Exactly. It cannot hold. It's an impossible state. Then you essentially, Nazis who think that every movie should have, sorry, I shouldn't just say Nazis, like people who think that having too many people of color in a movie is somehow attacking a tradition, or they can't relate to it, and having a reaction response to it, or thinking that it's forced. And then people who think that if the movie in any way promotes an anti-leftist perspective, we need to throw it in the trash, because that's not promoting the ideas that we want to have. And ideas that I may agree with, but I think it's a really difficult thing to do, especially, and it kind of sets you up for disappointment in a lot of art. Because if the art doesn't agree with you perfectly politically, this Hollywood system that is dependent on the system, the overall system going as it is, and making slow and incremental change. That's what that is really hard to enjoy stuff when you kind of look at it from that perspective.
I remember when Mr. Beast made his Squid Games video.
Yes,
people were coming after him for co-opting like this Korean anti-capitalist story into a YouTube video, and it's like, this is a Netflix show.
Yes, exactly.
This is a show made for Netflix.
Yeah,
this isn't some anti-capitalist or revolutionary piece of media.
It's a lot of perceived anti-capitalist art is like, it's just commenting on it. It's not calling for action or revolution.
Right.
It's just commenting on it because it couldn't be made if it was doing those things.
Yeah, but on the other hand, Squid Game Funko Pop.
Hell yeah.
That's crazy. That's wild,
Because
right?
there does become a point where you start thinking the original intent of the author is starting to get a little. This is why. I mean, isn't this why you kind of were off put by the Evangelion merch? Like, you can literally live off of Evangelion merch.
Yeah. There's enough Evangelion merch you can live off of. There's so
What
much
do you mean live off of?
like food, toothbrushes, telephones.
It functions all of your needs
Because
as a human?
Evangelion, that's your favorite anime.
Yeah.
That's your favorite piece of media, maybe ever.
Yeah.
Favorite piece of art. And when you see that get co-opted and become just kind of like nonsense figurines, doesn't that anger you?
Yeah, how does that make you feel?
It does anger me a little bit. It's weird that you can fall back into the show doesn't warrant it. Their narrative the show tells in no way warrants that to be made from it. Like, none of the characters are good. All of the characters, except for maybe like 2 or 3, are just outright unlikable. But then the fact that you could like take those characters and then just make weird like art naked girl figurines about it, or like fishing hooks. There's like a fishing lure set. There's an Evangelion themed fishing lure set. Like, anything you can imagine, there's Evangelion merchandise behind it.
Do you feel like when someone buys that or like displays it proudly or makes something like that, you're just like, do you even like this show? 'Cause
Yeah,
this show is mad at you.
Yeah, I do feel that. I feel that absolutely.
Well, so this is why the reason I bring that up is because there's clearly like a sliding scale of like more and more kind of capitalist simulacra, right? And then with Squid Game, I think the criticism of the Mr. Beast thing is like it's sliding more towards that, to the point where like you can imagine like Funko Pop, and then like it's more and more removed from the original political meaning that the original had, right?
Yeah, well, the video could have existed without Squid Games.
Right.
Right. It could have just been like a game show video.
But then it wouldn't have had 300 million views.
Exactly. So I see the frustration, but the frustration I wouldn't direct that at Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
I would direct it at like the human soul.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or it's just the system, the fact that money is how the world runs, which
Yeah.
is a little, I remember when I was like 20, I just graduated. I was 23, I think. And I remember being on the phone with my mom at a certain point, because it was my first time being out in the world, no school to go to. And I think I just like worked like a couple months. And at one point I was like, Mom, is this all it is? I go to work and then I have to make money for the rest of my life. And she goes, yes. And I went,
Yeah.
but it is kind of like a fact of life.
Yeah.
Which is really upsetting and spooky. But it does sort of explain why ideas sort of get commercialized.
Yeah. I wept at my first co-op.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a sad moment. Did you have a moment like that where you realized you had to work the rest of your life?
I've never had real jobs. The only job I ever had that was like remotely real, I worked in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I've just done like 3 and 4 month stints at random like delivery and things that I've like enjoyed.
But you didn't like have a moment where you just looked at your life and be like, oh, it's going to be this?
Yeah, I think at one point I was like,
It's kind of why you started a YouTube channel, right?
yeah, I think I had this weird realization that like, you just see out of the same pair of eyes your whole life. there's no transition. There's no like phases. There's no benchmark. It's just like you're born, and then like your life is just like this line of experience.
Yeah.
That was
It's
weird.
one shot.
Yeah,
It's a one-shot film.
Exactly.
And then it ends.
exactly.
No credits.
Yeah.
No meaning.
But I never had that. I've never had like an office job. I've never had something that's like truly soul crushing. All of my jobs have been like overtly social too, like bartending and shit. Now it's like work is fun.
Right.
Like I work, like I don't work too much, and when I go to work, it's just like like fast paced talking with my coworkers and making drinks.
Yeah, so bartending's not a real job in your brain, in your head.
No, bartending's not a real job. It's too fun.
Yeah.
It's too fun to be a real job. I never go in there just being like, I have to get through this. Like
Yeah.
I don't feel that way ever. It's like a sport. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think any like hockey players are on the ice being like, fuck, just like gotta hunker down and get through this, get through this play. It's like, no, you're so engaged constantly.
Right.
It's never dull.
You sound, I'm not to devalue your opinion, but you sound a little bit like the guy who defended baking because it was like bread science. He said baking is a science, and that he was like a men's rights guy. He sounded just a little bit. Yeah. But that's cool. That's a good perspective, I think.
Yeah, it's fun. I find YouTube way more soul sucking than bartending.
Interesting.
Yeah, way more.
Ooh.
But the highs are higher with YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes.
Finishing a video, like completing a thought.
1 out of 10.
Not even 1 out of 10. Like just getting what's on your mind out of your mind is way more gratifying.
Well, hold on. Let's be real. 1 out of 10 is definitely.
Yeah, 1 out of 10 feels great. It feels great.
It's designed to feel great, even though it's a terrible metric and no one should ever look at it.
Yeah.
This is one thing I disagree with when we celebrate 1 out of 10s. I'm like, no, we shouldn't. Don't do that.
Yeah.
There's a
fair.
new Mr. Beast video that was like started out as a 7 out of 10, and because it was like slower paced or something, and then it jumped up to like 2. And people are like, see, it's good because it ended up reaching the 1 out of 10 metric. It's like, no, we shouldn't look at that. It's really bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Unless you're like a daily upload kind of person. That you shouldn't look at that.
Yeah, it is overtly negative on your mental health. I had a poorly performing video recently. It took me like 2 days to get out of my slump.
The Evangelion video.
The Evangelion video.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it'll have legs.
It was like 2 days. You know, like in Silent Hill when you're walking around the fog.
Yeah.
It felt like my life was that for like 48 hours.
Yeah, but you also had that with the previous video, which did well.
This video won't do well. I'm over it.
But shit has legs. If you work hard at the thing and it's rewatchable, if it's evergreen, then you really don't have to look at that ever, because people will pick it up. If Evangelion ever becomes relevant again in like a popular discourse, like people will be hungry to find stuff about it.
Yeah, it's an objectively good video. It's objectively like one of my best videos.
So fuck that metric. You'll get $2,000 like in 3 years or something.
Yeah,
when it goes viral. All my videos keep just like getting viral again and again and again.
Yeah,
it suddenly becomes relevant. I missed my window to make my Hunger Games video, but I know that it's going to come back, so I'll make it whenever.
Okay, if you were the Grand Fuhrer of film Twitter, how would you change things? How would you run things? What would be different?
No one is allowed to tweet about a movie, and everyone delete your letterbox. That would be my. That's it.
You're not allowed to have Letterboxd?
I don't know. I think letterbox is really bad.
Huh.
I remember walking out of a cinema. I think I was watching a Spider-Man movie. I don't even know. It was just some random movie. I was in Glasgow, and I was going down the escalator away from it, and there was 2 guys behind me, and they said, "What do you think of that movie?" And the guy said, "I don't know. I think 7.5 out of 10." And I was like, "That's your first thought? Is the number you're gonna give it on Letterboxd the first thing you say?" What?
The platforms we're on do dictate our, like they shape our minds.
Yeah, and Letterboxd is programming you to look at things and give them a numerical value. And that's terrible. My Letterboxd count exclusively 5 stars. Exclusively.
Yeah.
No, I'm not giving any numbers. I hate numbers. Numbers are useful if you are a professional critic, but if you're just a regular ass audience member, don't poison your brain with that mindset.
Yeah.
You're not getting paid for that. And no one's watching you. No one's using your opinion to inform them on how they should engage with something. So like, stop it.
Yeah.
You're breaking your brain.
Yeah, we had Steve, his Gen X YouTuber, on the podcast, and he won't give anything below a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like 6 out of 10 is like the worst possible movie would be a 6 out of 10. His scale is just 6 to 10.
That's interesting. I kind of agree with that. I just think that you can't quantify how you feel about a movie in 10 stars. I don't think that's possible. I think some interesting rating systems are when they have like different aspects give different number weight ratings, and that adds up to 10. That's kind of cool, like a mathematical sort of a session. But I still don't think that still gives more weight to some things, and when it's all kind of just, to me, it's a flat engagement thing. Did this affect me personally? I think telling a story about a film, much rather tell me the story of your experience watching it, than anything else, than any number. And people making top 10 lists all the time. That's the thing on YouTube. Rank the X-Men movies. Ugh! Who is this for?
It's a great title, though.
You're trying to brag about your taste. Yeah, it is a great title.
It's a great title.
And that's the problem.
It's a great title.
That's the
Great
fucking
thumbnail.
problem.
Yeah, you can see it already.
So I would have everyone delete their Twitters. I would have them never tweet about movies except tell a long story. Maybe, no, not even that. I don't even want to engage with it because it's just all bad. Delete your letterbox, delete Twitter, or have a letterbox and specifically don't rate things.
What do you think about that? You're an objective guy.
I'm an objective. Yeah, I kind of feel like with art recently, any kind of human creation, I trying to approach it with this mindset of you can get so much out of everything.
Yeah.
You can get so much out of everything. I think I've never seen or consumed a piece of art that has like left me the exact same as when I started it. Right? So even if something's like, I don't know, I've never had like an overtly negative experience. I've always learned something. You know, I've always learned something from taking in a piece of art.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't know. It's
Okay, I'm gonna get into stuff I'm talking about in my presentation, but
Yeah.
just the an objective assessment, like, it should come at the end of a process, right? But because of the way our social media apps are designed, that's the forefront. That's kind of it's the end point, but it's also the first thing you can write. And you want to get to your opinion quickly. But for internet stuff, you don't want to like wait for someone to waffle on, so they know that the tweet will get more traction if you say start with this is good. But objective assessment is supposed to come at the end of the process after you fully engage with something. So it's essentially these systems have hijacked that, brought it to the front, and it's like a wall. It's a wall now that you have to get through. Is this good before you engage with it? And that's super bad.
Yeah.
Because that's not how you engage with stuff.
I mean, that's everything too. That's even like politics, like political opinions, or
Yeah.
like world events. You're immediately, the second something happens, it's
Yeah.
like, what do you think? Good or bad?
Yeah.
Yes or
and,
no?
and you see people like write in the comments like their first reaction to that question really says a lot.
Yeah.
Like they're looking for like you can't start with objectivity, and everyone is inclined. I think it's rewired our brains to look at something and assess whether it's good or right.
Yeah.
Like it has to be right. Actually, it's right's a better word.
Yeah.
And then is it right or not? Then if it's wrong, we can disregard everything. And it's like fuck, you can't even talk.
Yeah.
Because what if someone disagrees with you? Then you're just not you're never gonna find the thing you agree on.
Yeah.
So, okay.
There's so
Calm down.
many people and things to think about on the internet that you kind of have to have a black and white sort of perspective to make sense of it, or else you just live in noise.
Therefore, don't use it.
Just don't use
Can't
it.
use it. I don't remember the last time I tweeted about a movie except to say like you should watch this. It's interesting. Like, but even then, I feel bad. I feel bad every time I tweet because I'm like, ugh. That's why I don't tweet. It's just ugh. And film Twitter's it's a very specific example, but it has every problem with the internet on it. In it.
Is it fixable? Can you fix it?
No.
No.
Twitter. It's all bad.
Okay,
Get rid
so
of it.
I basically make you fear of film Twitter,
Yes.
and you say delete.
Yes. I nuke itself.
Yeah.
Gone.
That's what I would.
It's all bots anyway now. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Dead internet.
Yeah, dead internet. I've never felt dead internet before, but I really feel it on Twitter now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like you just, and even like the skits, like videos that they post, they're all like acted, but like no one cares that they're fake. You know?
Yeah.
They just want to talk about this as like a hypothetical or something.
Oh yeah, like people getting, like a guy getting kicked off a plane for wearing like a Confederate flag hat.
Yeah.
I saw one like that, and it's like clearly the whole thing staged.
Wait,
Like,
what are you thinking about in terms of film Twitter though?
What do you mean?
Like what skits, videos corollary to the Confederate
Oh,
guy?
like reactionary people, like people who are trying to provoke people by saying, "Oh, this film's actually shit," and then they'll get dunked on forever, and they say, "Haha, people bought it," or something, or saying something like, far right people being like, "See, suck it, feminists," or whatever, and then people want to like disagree with them. They feed that into each other, and they kind of end up making up a guy. And then they'll say people will hate this movie because of X, Y, Z. Like they haven't even encountered that yet, but they're anticipating that conflict, and then it's kind of fake. It's just this fake argument that's sort of happening, and not enough words to actually understand what someone's
Interesting.
coming from.
yeah.
There was someone on my someone posted a comment on me being like, "This guy said that Transformers was good. I'm not listening to anything he says," and I'm like, "Good," because But I also feel bad for him because he's not looking for what I mean.
Right.
Or if he summed up my entire feelings about Transformers as saying that I was saying it's good.
Yeah. I think I just think there's so many people doing so many things. It's even in the film space that like if you just deeply hold to as part of your identity that Transformers is bad, and you're challenging that. Yeah, you could engage with that and try to see where you're coming from, or you could just be like, nah, I'll just find someone who agrees with me.
Transformers is good.
I think, should we get into that? Why I think Transformers
Sure.
is good?
That's a hot take. I haven't heard that one before.
I just saw the clip. I was like fucking scrolling last night, and they had the clip where Bumblebee pulls into the car dealership and blows out all the car windows. I'm like, that's a great scene. That's epic as fuck.
Yeah.
2007, I was 9 and seeing that in theaters. I was like, oh!
I have a like contrarian opinion on Transformers, and I think it's interesting. It's an example of just, there's an agreement on like throughout society that Transformers is kind of shit. Like it's slop or something. But I remember meeting someone in high school who was just like, Transformers, they're like the best films ever made. They're my favorite films. And I was like, wow! I got really mad. But then I watched them again like years later, and I was like, oh, there's value in this thing.
Yeah.
I think Transformers, actually what my opinion is that Transformers is incredibly interesting. It's so interesting, and it's very good at executing what it wants to do. but it's like, well, that's not right.
Right.
We shouldn't be trying to do that. But I'm like, but it does it really well.
Isn't Michael Bay quoted in saying like he makes movies for 12-year-old boys?
Yeah.
And he's like,
Good job, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
He nailed it.
Yeah, he's not like making fun of his audience. He's like, this is
Perfectly
what
executed.
Yeah, this is what I do. That's the thing too. It's like with the fucking Barbie shit. When Barbie comes out and adult men are critiquing Barbie, it's like it's a children's movie, man. I understand like you have a bit of political gripes with the messaging in the movie, but like at the end of the day, it's for fucking children. The target audience is children. It's a Barbie movie. You're 35.
Headphone viewers of this podcast. My apologies.
But yeah, I think like, and not to say, because then it sort of like, well, then this is how you're identifying what is good, is but just on did they succeed in what they're trying to do, but what about what it could be? I'm like, yes. Those are all valid ways of looking at something, but there's no one that's like more important than the others.
Yeah.
I don't think when you're assessing something, it's all a flat plane of different values and different lenses to look at a piece of art from. But then we just keep holding things up higher than others and then saying you're wrong because I'm not ignoring that thing. I know that thing's there, but I know other people are talking about it, so I'm going to focus on this part. And that's what a YouTube video should be, I think. But then people just have to defend themselves, and they keep caveat. This thing's I know this thing's shit. Blah blah blah. Like,
I've been really into fucking reading tons of Robert Pirsig.
yeah.
Yeah, Motorcycle Maintenance, and I just got the second book, Lila.
Cool.
Been working on that. And I've just been like obsessed with it recently. But he says in Motorcycle Maintenance, at the end of the book, he's like talking about all the Greek philosophers and the pre-Socratics and Socratics and like Plato and rhetoric and the sophists and dialectics. And he's like, the Western canon begins when we replaced good as the highest value with truth as the highest value. And we put good below truth. And I was like fucking shivering reading this line. Because like that's fucking it. Is that like we judge art as, is this true? Is this like true, objective, this is good, this is bad, this is true? What makes something true? But we don't look at things as good, because when you look at things through a lens of quality, you see like the lateral connection of the fact you can kind of get a lot out of everything if you look at it with the lens of like quality and excellence. But you're looking at things with the lens of true, there's very few things that are good. There's very few things that are like an 8 or 9 out of 10, and everything else is bad.
Exactly. But people will say that, they're saying good.
Yeah.
But what they're actually doing is true.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're saying right. Yeah, they're like this is right. This is true. They're not saying this is good. They're saying this is right.
Yeah. And now, what's important is if you're a professional critic, you should function on true. Because that's good. That's part of the job, I think. Because it's your specific perspective. I'm going to tell you what I think about this. I think this is bad. But then everyone's trying to do that. I think that's a very valuable thing for the industry, and it has been since its beginning, of just let me, as the person on a podium, tell you my opinion, and then you come away with that and you figure out what is good, though. They say their truth, and then you say, well, what's good? But since if everyone's talking truth, then no one's talking about good.
Yeah.
Like film discussion, film Twitter used to be hanging out at the diner with your friends and talking about what you liked and didn't like about the movie. It wasn't public, and the person would never hear you. That's the other thing. It's like the amount of mean shit you're saying about these VFX people or whatever, like posting that one shot of Thor Love and Thunder and be like, this is the state of Marvel VFX. There's a VFX supervisor who worked on that shot, looked at that shot, ran out of time to make that shot good, and is gonna be personally affected by that.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
super fucking mean to blame him. Really, they're blaming the studio, but they conflate those kind of ideas. I think that really what they're trying to do is blame the studio, but I also don't think that they are, because I think a lot of people blame directors for stuff that they're not responsible for. Also, another thing grinds my fucking gears about film Twitter is when they post the new Deadpool movie trailer came out. People take screen caps of it being like, look how shit this color grade looks. First of all, you're not a professional color grader. You think you are. Secondly, really what you're doing, what you're actually asking for, is something to look good in a screen cap on Twitter. You want it to look good when you post it, when you repost it on Twitter. They're looking for film shots to look good on Twitter specifically, not in a dark movie theater. That broke my brain as soon as I realized that. What you're looking for is something that looks good to tweet. Oh my God. Are you asking them to make color grades that look good on Twitter? Oh, I don't know if they realize this, but that's really what they're asking. Fucking insane.
Yeah, it goes
And,
back.
and that's why we need to blow up Twitter, because that's the end point. If they
Right.
want it to be good on Twitter.
yeah.
Watching a movie with the lens of like analyzing the color grading is fucking bizarre.
Well, it's cool because it's a good art and it's interesting, and there's a lot of aspects of it that are fascinating. Lord of the Rings is a great example of you can analyze the color grade and be like how it starts green and happy and then ends dark and red, and it tells a story in that way. Color is an art form,
Yeah.
but it only works in the cinema. It doesn't happen on your phone. It happens on your phone for like content and stuff, but you can't judge film grading in Twitter screen caps. I
Should only watch movies in theaters.
Yeah, I think it's a good place. It's a good place to watch film, or have a really good home setup.
Or on
I refuse to watch movies
or on
anywhere else.
www.soaptoday.com.
Yes,
1, 2, 3 movies.
wherever it goes, as long as it's on a screen with like a nice sound system,
Right.
you can fully appreciate it and immerse yourself. Also in a dark room,
Yeah.
not on the bus.
Yeah, I've never watched a fucking. I can't even get through a movie on my laptop.
Yeah, I can't.
This is not what this is meant for.
No.
That's for RuneScape videos.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll watch an hour-long RuneScape video on my
I
laptop.
think. Do you know that there's a great David Lynch bit where he's like, "You will never, ever, ever experience a film if you look at it on a phone. If you watch a movie on a phone, you will never in a billion trillion years could say that you've experienced the film. You have not watched the movie. Fucking moron." Something like that. It's great.
That's a great-
But it's true.
Yeah,
it's
it is true.
And there's something about the everyone being on Twitter that it has to work there. I think we should burn it. Kill him.
Yeah.
Could we watch a Mr. Beast video in the movie theater?
Ooh, that's a good question. No. I mean, you could. Yeah,
That's
obviously.
that's made for the phone.
But I think it would actually like make you dizzy.
because that's it.
I think it would make you really dizzy.
This is interesting because you can't,
Not intentionally.
you ever try to do dramatic shit in a YouTube video where you like cut sound out and have like kind of a long still shot or something like that? It doesn't work. It literally doesn't work. You can't do it. There's no way to build unless you're releasing a piece of film or cinema on YouTube. If you're making a YouTube video for the platform YouTube and then you try to add dramatic suspense to it with like filmmaking techniques, always fails because the YouTube video is meant to be like the most dopaminergic thing because the screen is this small and you're looking at it like this and you have to like squeeze as much as you can into this space.
Yeah.
But when you have a big screen in a cinema, you don't have to do that because you're already there. Like
The text that pops up would be so fucking big on an IMAX screen. Oh my god. It'd be upsetting.
we should rent a theater out and play Mr. Beast.
Yeah, just to see like
Yeah,
that would be really cool.
Like fill a theater of people just to watch like 10 Mr. Beast videos in a row.
This is kind of what CJ was talking about in the presentation in their lecture, where it's like Susan Sontag's thing of just like people saying, "Oh, they're trying to legitimize YouTube by adding film stuff to it," because it's like a movie.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, no, it's a YouTube video. Treat it like a YouTube video. Respect the YouTube form, and don't try to make it something it isn't.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like I always I'll get comments about people saying like, "Oh, this video is too fast," blah 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, it's a YouTube video.
YouTube video.
I'm fine with it. Like if I want to make something more higher concept or more slow, I'd want to make a YouTube video. But I'm making a YouTube video. Like,
Or you can make a YouTube video like that some people would like, but not a lot of people would like click on.
yeah,
Or people would click off because it's too slow, or they multiply the speed or whatever, Which is like that's valid. That's how YouTube works, but it's not film. It just isn't.
Yeah, don't
And
want-
I would dare maybe suggest it's not like. It's not yet like an art thing that we can discuss and have a canon. It's got a history.
yeah.
But it's hard to say that it's like hard to look at it as art because of how it's constructed
Yeah.
and how it functions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that you're an exception to this, and just your thing is so like high concept and weird and bizarre, and you try things and you play with the form of it to the point that it's almost not a YouTube video, in which I guess I'd call it more like art. But like it's hard to make art about another piece of art that is just talking about it, And I think we should be proud of that. I think it's like, yeah, because this is product.
Yeah.
This is good product.
Yeah.
And that's good. It doesn't. I don't mean it to be like an insult, but it's just
No,
where you are.
I agree 100%. I just don't think people realize that with YouTube necessarily.
Yeah.
I think people look at YouTube. People getting into YouTube because I'm so fresh into getting into YouTube. and watching my perspective change on the medium as I kind of got like, not nihilistic, but like a lot of what my expectations were broken as I got into it. But like, I'm more okay with it now, because like I'll write a book. Yeah, I'll make something that like I'll play at a theater and like announce and work on it for a year and get like an audience to watch it, right? But like,
I made an album. Album's coming out.
Yeah. Yeah, you still have the option to make other things, but like at the end of the day, I'm gonna read a book and make a 20-minute YouTube video about it that's super fast and dopaminergic.
Yeah,
because that's what it is.
Because it's a good product. And I think
you should put both of ours in your mouth instead of a new one.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad that thing is not in my mouth anymore.
I feel power.
What are you have a contrarian opinion on Transformers?
Yes, I do.
What other contrarian film opinions do you have?
Ooh. Everything is good.
Everything is good.
All art is good. I think.
So what's something like a popular thing people disliked that you found value in? What are some other ones?
The Marvels.
Yeah, the Marvels.
I found the Marvels to be an interesting movie. I quite liked it. I thought there was some really cool stuff in it.
And just to be clear, we're not talking about Marvel movies.
No,
we're talking about the Marvels.
Captain Marvel 2, Kamala Khan 2, WandaVision 2, the Marvels. I found that interesting. There's a really cool fight scene in it where the three of them beat the shit out of someone, and there's no music, and it's brutal. And I'm like, whoa, that's cool. They have a cool switching mechanic in it. It's interesting. I love Kamala Khan. Kamala Khan's amazing. Maybe my favorite superhero right now. Probably just because she looks like me. Just it's kind of as soon as I saw her gain her powers, I was like, oh, is this what white people feel like all the time? Truly. Like, I've never felt that before. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting movie. But everyone's like, oh, it's trash, it's garbage. I'll admit, like, it's got stuff that feels like it's unfinished. But, like, it's, I sort of, like, accept the state of it and then engage with it. And I think people will look at that as, like, what? How could you look at that like this? And it's like, well, because it's a piece of art. I don't know. I think people see me and think of me as a contrarian because I refuse to engage with it the same way they do. And I think that's why they think it's contrarian. Or I say Transformers is valuable because there's no other film series that shows destruction on this scale. And there's no other genre in film that can do that. You won't see an art house film with this level of destruction in it. And that's important then. There's something valuable about that no other art piece can give is the level of destruction that Transformers gives us. So we should value that. Should look at that. That's really cool.
It is really cool. I agree.
But now suddenly I've said Transformers is good. Therefore, I'm an idiot.
Now we got to throw out your whole.
We got to throw out my whole arguments about everything else and my opinions about everything else.
What makes something bad?
Ooh.
Yeah, what's like a
bad movie?
A metaphysics of a lack of quality.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's because you just said everything is good. So is it even possible to make a bad movie?
Yeah, obviously.
Like laziness.
I don't want to qualify my statement by saying everything has the capacity to be good or everything is good in parts, because I think that my belief in that statement is so strong that to caveat it is just gonna have people poke holes in it and try and figure out what I really mean when I'm trying to say something bigger, which is this person made something that's valuable, that's great, and it has good things in it. And if you look at it, if it was the only movie you ever saw, that meme, guy who has only ever seen Minions watches another movie for the first time and he says, getting a lot of Minions vibes from this. That's so real. That's so real. If you had only ever seen that movie ever in your life, you'd think it's perfect because you have nothing to measure it up against. So that's a much better place to start with engaging with stuff. That's what I mean by that. I'm with that guy. Totally with that guy. He's correct. Yes, it does have a lot of Minions vibes because there's shots and editing and it's telling a story.
Yeah,
right.
It's a Minions vibe.
Yeah, you see a Jackie Chan movie and you're like a lot of Minions vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
Small yellow guy. No, I'm just kidding.
To answer your question, disavow. Is there a way that something can be bad? Yes, obviously, and there's ways to look at it, and that comes from, but it doesn't. You don't talk about that publicly if you're an artist. I think as an artist, your responsibility. This is the real shit. Your responsibility when you see a piece of bad art is not to tweet about it. It's to make something better. To make a better art.
Yeah.
That's your response. That's your responsibility as an artist.
I agree absolutely.
And people who make these tweets, a lot of them say aspiring filmmaker in the bio. A lot of them.
Oof.
And that is like, No.
I'm taking damage over time from the thought.
Imagine Fox. Imagine Fox. Sorry, not Fox. Disney now. Imagine Disney is looking for a next hot up and coming director who's really hungry, looking for him. And they're like, we gotta find cool people. Let's look online, find some interesting creators. Some guys posted like some short films. They're really interesting. Oh wow, that's so cool. Let's learn more about this guy. They go on his Twitter, nothing but lambasting their corporation. Like fuck Disney, hate them. They're ruining art. Oh my god, Ant-Man and the Wasp was so fucking bad. I don't want to work with this guy.
Yeah.
I don't like this guy. That's the danger as an artist. You can't just don't stop giving your opinions. Your opinions are so valuable and they're good for creating your own language. You know, they're good to talk with people, figure out what you believe, what you want your art to be, and then show that by making something really good. I bet Robert Eggers, you know Robert Eggers?
The old guy?
What?
No, I'm thinking of Roger Ebert.
I think Roger Ebert. Let me pick. I'm trying to think of a filmmaker that you guys would all know. The Daniels, maybe? The guys who made Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay.
I'm sure those guys have some movies they fucking hate.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they hate a lot of stuff. They don't talk about it publicly.
They've learned to not open their mouths
I'm
sometimes.
sure that
Yeah.
they have. Because ultimately you're criticizing your peers if you do that and harming relationships. And instead, what if we make something that breaks all these rules of things that we hate, you know? And then suddenly you've added something. You're not trying to take stuff away from other people.
That's interesting because you're coming at this from the positionality of someone who will get into the industry deeper and deeper, and you will work with these people and meet these people, and you don't want to be making stuff that people are going to see you and be like, oh, well, you didn't like my movie.
Sure.
You
There
didn't
is,
like my
there is some
VFX.
self-interest to my philosophy in that. But I also think it's bad for me, and it switches off my engagement, and it's mean. I don't want to be mean.
And it probably is bad for everybody.
I like being a kind human, you know?
Yeah.
And if I got something good out of a piece of art, I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
And because I want to celebrate what good thing I got out of it, and not have to caveat by saying, well, also they're a piece of shit person, because obviously they included this part of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm bored of that.
It's a much more positive, happy way of living your life. It seems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. And I like being happy. And it's good. And I feel like a lot of these people are just really miserable. I'm not trying to, say that they are or make an actual judgment, but
I don't see how your career can just be shitting on other people's art and not making any of your own and not having that bleed into your personal life at all.
Exactly. It's really, You're the celebrity you spend your brain on all the time. It's kind of shit.
We all saw Civil War.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. Ooh.
What was your take?
Okay. I want to know your take first.
I thought it was, I'm coming at this from like a political brain rot perspective.
Yeah.
And I thought it was doing a lot of interesting things. I've never seen a government official get gunned down. Coming from Ottawa, Ontario, like the visual of a government official just getting mowed down. Like I've never seen that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that they did they obviously shied away from some of the political implications of what they were doing. But like just the fact that they had the balls to set it in a divided America where these states are seceding, California and Texas team up. That's crazy. That's anti-centrism.
That's real. Yeah.
Because like the leftist and the right-wing state team up against a fascist government that has taken over the middle.
But were you disappointed that they didn't go into the specifics of the
I wasn't really, because I don't think they were trying to, I think that they were like, I think this is the kind of aesthetics that are posited now that someone else will be able to build upon later and do something more interesting with politically.
Great. What about you?
I felt like I wish it was a bit more of the movie for me was trying to shoehorn too many plot, like it was trying to make me care about the characters too much.
Okay.
I wish it was a bit more gonzo. I wish it was a bit more like lack of narrative, just kind of like throw you into the action, watch this thing unfold. Because the premise itself is fascinating of like a American Hollywood movie depicting a civil war in America. Like it's the concept itself is so interesting. But I just think I didn't really give a fuck about the characters or their arcs or anything. The character I liked the most was the Mexican guy. Not the Mexican guy, the guy from Florida.
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 Don't know if he's lying or not.
Yeah. Because he's like a vessel for the story.
His name's Joel.
Joel. Yeah, he's just a vessel for the story. He doesn't really have like an arc. He's just kind of like an exciting action character. I like that. But it was a pretty good movie. Like, fine with it. I think that, the fact that it exists, like the fourth wall breaking aspect of the idea this movie exists is really cool.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah. I think both of you, maybe just as a result of how I've been talking about good art, are coming at it from a great place. I think we went with a group of people, and a lot of people had the opinion of where was the politics, where was the specificity. They were cowards, really.
Yeah.
And then as a result, they didn't care about the characters. Could you fill up my water bottle for me? Actually,
Yeah.
Are we all good?
Yeah, we're good. We're just having charge.
I think that there is the discussion of Civil War has been mostly from that front, because it's coming from the true perspective.
Yeah.
Did this fulfill its pitch to be a movie about a civil war? That idea has a lot of it's a speculative piece of fiction, and so you want it to be true to sort of stuff that we see, and you want it to make a statement as well. You want it to be really say something about our current position.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about Civil War II, the second American Civil War, a spooky idea that not a lot of people talk about when they talk about the culture war as like a possible endpoint.
Yeah.
So I think that
And
the movie
Texas and California seceding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super. Yeah. I think that the movie is asking you to swallow a pill when it starts. I felt this. I felt like when the movie started and it was being very vague, that the movie was handing me something and saying, you have to accept that we are not going to be talking about Trump in this movie. There's no mention of anything relevant to now. We're going to be very vague, and we're going to tell a hero's journey story in this borderline like radical setting, like a spooky setting that has never been done before. Like you said, Dreg, that you've never seen a political official shot on camera in this kind of way. Like that's very almost to its own end what it was trying to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the value of it.
8.2. 7.91.
I did make everyone give me a decile scale score.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And then,
Did you ask me?
no, you trailed behind.
I did trail behind. Yeah.
You did trail behind. I got everyone else's, and I made an aggregate of the group.
Yeah. Ask me now.
That's so you.
Is it? Yeah, like an objective judgment.
Yeah.
Ask me now.
What do you think? Rate the movie out of 10.
No. That's it.
Good. Based.
Done. I refuse. I think my opinion of it, at least what I got out of it, was that idea of just like, this is a new setting, and let's lay the groundwork. Let's rip this Band-Aid off of like, we could tell stories set about this.
Yeah.
And then maybe other people in the future can do that. But I think, it's got to be safe, because it's got to exist within, it has to be funded,
Yeah.
People have to go watch it. It has to be vague so that everyone will watch it and not just a specific group. And I think it succeeded. And it told the hero's journey story that I found very engaging, personally. I liked the kid. I liked the kid a lot. I liked her story.
Yeah.
I thought there was something really powerful to me about seeing her being like, I really want to be a war photographer, and then finding herself in the most important moment of the country's history. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And she's just like taking photos like, I don't even know what's going on. And I was like, oh. And that was really engaging. And I enjoyed it. It was really pretty. Yeah.
We all had an affinity for the scene where they find the guy with the pile of bodies.
Yes.
That seemed the consensus of all of us, was like, that was such a strong point in the movie.
I think it's in every single review that has ever been written about this, every single person has said that's the best scene in the movie.
Yeah.
To the point where I'd almost say it's objectively correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, that scene's crazy.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Why is it crazy? It's just it's a very dramatic tone shift. I don't know. I feel like there's some like movies do this thing. A lot of the movies I love do this thing where like you have an expectation of what the movie's going to be and like the way the plot is going to develop, and then there's like this moment that happens where you're like, okay, like everything's off the fucking table now. Now it's like just a truly desperate story.
Yeah.
Like nothing. This movie, the potential of a happy ending is gone. This movie is now depressing and dark, and that was that scene for me. It's like from that point onward, I'm just like, oh god, like, I mean, like this slog of nothing else happens. It's just depressing.
Yeah.
That comes
Dark.
through. That comes through. The reason the scene's really good is because of the staging, the writing, the pacing, editing, sound design, and what his intention is. And I think that's it. It's sort of disrupting the movie.
Yeah.
It's just, whoa, this is not what the movie was about. So I have this theory about films and how they work. This is my own personal Ben Chinnapen-ism. But I think every movie that I love, I agree with you, it has this sort of pitch of what the movie's about, and then there's a turn. It's about the midpoint where it's like, this is what the movie's actually about.
you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you discover what the movie's actually about. Have you seen Arrival?
No.
Oh, that's got a great one.
Have you seen the new Blair Witch? The Blair Witch?
No, I haven't seen that.
That has that too.
Yeah.
It's like it phrases the movie is kind of poised as like this sort of like all these new horror movie tropes of like sex and romance and like camp. And then there's this point where it's just like everything falls apart. Like all the romance, they just like end the plot of all the romance of all the things between the characters, and the movie is just fucking desperate for another half an hour.
I think that's why spoilers are important. I think it's important not to go in something like really fresh, you know? And and something that happens on film Twitter sometimes is people will say, there's a scene in this movie where XYZ happens, and people are like, are you kidding me? I'm not watching it. Like and you've robbed that from the story.
Yeah.
You know? I think this also comes to other YouTube stuff. You know about movie recap channels?
Yes.
Bane of my fucking existence. This is my like actual enemy.
Right.
I've never had an enemy in my life.
And so just to be clear about what we're talking about here, these are the videos that you'll see where like a guy wakes up on the side of a road. And
a man wakes up on the side of the road. He doesn't know how he got there.
Yeah,
we flash back 10 minutes.
It's always an AI voice.
always an AI
it just
voice.
describes what happens in the movie.
People watch this instead of watching the movie.
Yeah.
They will.
Because it's 10 minutes instead of 2 hours.
It's 10 minutes instead of 2 hours. I want to kill them.
Right. But it's interesting that it inspires such rage, right?
Yeah,
because the reason people watch that is so that they can gain. It's like reading the Wikipedia summary.
Yeah.
It's like kind of the next step of that, where it's like you can now have a conversation with someone kind of in the broad sense about that movie without actually having to spend the time to watch it.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh God! And people will use that as like, you know, their statement why I'm right about this movie, because I know what happens in it, and that's bad. It says this about something I believe in, you know, or it does this to a character that I really love.
It sort of fits into like with philosophy and art. There's this like weird proclivity to just collect the knowledge instead of engage with the knowledge.
Exactly.
And people do that. That's
we know people like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I'm sure everyone here knows. Like, there's some people who like engage with an idea from, like you said, like a definition perspective.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. I think it'd be probably there's some political equivalent of like you read the you get the gist of the idea instead of like actually reading the text where the idea came from.
Yeah, you read the Communist Manifesto. I know what communism is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like sports. Actually, Joe Rogan has this funny bit talking about conspiracy theorists, and comparing them to sports fans, where it's like sports fandom is people like knowing all the characters are the characters.
Say it like that. Yeah.
Knowing all the players' names, knowing like their backstory, what they did, all the trades, who they played for, and it just becomes this collection of knowledge to discuss as a point that discuss the collection of knowledge. And he says conspiracy theories are like that too, because it's like you just collect conspiracy theories. You're like, oh, this conspiracy theory, that one is just kind of like lore.
Yeah.
Right? The same way someone talks about like, you know, there's a place to have a discussion about like Star Wars lore. Not every discussion about like Star Wars needs to be some deep fucking analytical fourth wall breaking conversation about the state of man. But when you extrapolate that out to like literally everything, it's dark.
Yeah.
It's dark.
That's what happens to QAnon people. They end up sort of in these like holes where they literally spend all their time on their computer refreshing and taking the new lore and studying the new lore, and it really breaks their brain, and that's when they commit crimes and
Lost in the lore.
Yeah.
collect a new mental illness.
There's this is a little out there, but there's this, the way 4chan operates is it's centerless, and people get really deep into the 4chan lingo and like the 4chan signaling. Partly because they believe there's this like center to it. There's this like group of, you know, a couple hundred guys at
The 4chan cabal.
The 4chan cabal, and you're like, I want to join that. I want to be the most into it, so I can finally reach this like singularity of me being part of that group. But it's centerless. It doesn't exist. And it's the same with conspiracy theories, but it's the same with like anything, where it's just like you just want to be the person who knows everything.
Yeah, and bring that to film Twitter. I think that's maybe it. Maybe that's at the core of what people are trying to do by having the most correct opinions and finding the true film
the real film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing I hear about, like, number 10 ratings. It's just like, how close is this to the true film, the one true film that does everything perfectly?
Right. Well, that's what the market incentive is, to know the most esoteric knowledge that you possibly can, to have the most secret knowledge to share with others,
The coolest opinion.
so that
and
you can be the most ingratiated in the group. And I think all online communities kind of function like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why that's why I like talking about film Twitter, because I think it's a microcosm of the whole, and it's a pinpoint thing that I love and I know a lot about, that it has so many aspects of everything that's going on right now. It's fun, and also movies are really easy to have an opinion about.
Yeah.
So it's a really good entryway. That's one of the reasons I
Into collecting knowledge,
they're-
collecting opinions.
they're really easy to have an opinion about. So when I use an example, or I give an example of an opinion that might challenge you, you will just instinctively be like, well, I thought that movie was shit. What are you talking about? You know, there's a little bit of that. Because it's a story, you know, and you can have opinions about how well the story was told. And I think everyone has an opinion of how well stories are told, because that's what we do as humans. We all have our favorite stories.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, I want as this podcast comes to a close, let's end it with tell me about glaze a movie for me. Glaze a recent movie. Like, tell me what the value of it was.
Meat ride a movie for us.
Meat ride a movie for us.
Oh,
A recent one.
Challengers.
Okay, explain it to us like we
That's
haven't
a
seen it, because we
heater.
haven't.
Challengers is a love triangle story, kind of. It's a little more complicated than that, but it's love triangle and tennis. So it's like a sports movie drama thing. And it's really fucking awesome. It's really cool. Directed by the guy who directed Call Me by Your Name. And he's really exciting, and he's doing really interesting, inventive camera choices that, you know, we've seen before, but he's like collecting them all in one. They have a really cool score in there, and it feels very like culturally significant that it's Zendaya, and it's done so well, and it's like challenging a bunch of things. It has like kind of sex scenes. People are talking about sex scenes. It's doing stuff that we haven't seen in a while, and that I think people have like not expect from stories. And I think there's this newness to it, and this look at sort of sexuality as well, and how it relates to what we want in relationships with people and what we're trying to get out of people. And that's like it's like a game you're trying to win. And I think that's important to how we treat people right now. And it's just saying all these things that are very relevant and exciting, and it's done really well, and it's shot really well. But when I walked out of the cinema, there was this girl who said, "Oh yeah, there was this one slow-mo shot, and it had have half the frames." Oh yeah, that was definitely a mistake. It's definitely a mistake. But Challengers is so fucking good. Oh my god, I've never felt like I felt like a deep personal connection to the characters as well, like how it portrays masculinity as well. That's really fascinating, and the structure is very unique, and it's also the screenwriter is married to the woman who directed Past Lives, and that's really cool, because is that the same story, because they're kind of similar-ish stories. So that's really interesting, and it makes you want to like think about it a little bit. But and also, when's the last time we've seen a tennis movie? And did you know that every single Spider-Man girlfriend has been a tennis player in a movie after being Spider-Man's girlfriend?
Huh.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Kirsten Dunst did Wimbledon. And then Emma Stone did the Battle of the Sexes, and now we have Challengers with Zendaya. It's really interesting. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Tennis is pretty coded, or tennis is pretty loaded sport.
Yeah. It's also kind of like there's this weird intrinsic sexuality to it, where it's just like, those sounds like they sound like sex noises, and that's kind of cool. The writer got an idea by watching Roger Federer. Oh, I'm so sorry, tennis fans. One of the greats. He was playing a big Wimbledon game, and his wife was in the stands, and she was looking so distressed. And he's like, why would the wife of the player be so distressed? And he decided to weave a whole tale out of it. It's really exciting. Is that enough dick riding for you?
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got an album coming out.
I do have an album coming out.
You want to plug that?
Sure, yeah. It's coming out on June 2nd, which is my birthday, my 29th birthday. And it is an electronic EP, which has my whole heart and soul into it. It is everything that I've wanted to do with music since I got the idea of doing music, since I listened to this one Porter Robinson album, and I was like, oh, that's music to me. And it's 4 tracks, and they're very cool, up and kind of dancey and very loud and explosive, and maybe too much, but I think I've at least just settled that this is what I want to say right now with my music. And it's about journeys, it's about traveling, it's my reflections of moving to a new country. I moved here from the UK, and I have a lot of thoughts about that, and so it's kind of what I communicated. Yeah, and it's called Lyra.
Cool. And you also made a new instrumental recently. We should play it, and we should
Sure. I mean, it's.
we should play us out.
I just kind of fiddled with it because I've had new ideas. since
Open it
the
up.
album's been done. Oh God.
Get it up.
It's not like it's just like nice. It's just like a little
And we'll
Thing.
we'll do an improv
improv rap.
song
You want to do a rap
over it.
Okay. Should I?
Yeah.
play it? Or maybe we'll like line it up. After.
Yeah, well, we can line it
Okay.
up after, yeah. Horseshoe Theory. Ben from Canada. Representing Film Twitter.
OV ho.
No, that's fine.
Oh shit! It's done. Well, then we can just play this over.
Yeah,
while this soundtrack.
yeah, that's true. That actually is fine.
This was fun. I hope this was good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Film Twitter. Delete Film Twitter.
Delete your letterboxed and
Right away.
kill yourself.
Get off of Film Twitter because it's not a real community.
Talk about movies with your friends. It's better.
I actually really enjoy talking about Civil War after we watched Civil War.
I also enjoyed that very much. It was nice to get everyone's perspectives and thoughts and feelings about it, and who responded to it and who didn't.
Much better than Film Twitter.
Oh yes,
Much
very
better than film Twitter. I love knowing everyone in real life, seeing their eyes, watching eye contact,
Exactly.
watching their body language.
You really can like appreciate someone's presence and feel that they're another human being and imagine their life.
Films.
Oh shit.
What does it all mean?
Cool. All right.
Very good. Well, thanks for coming. Well, I guess we'll audio murder you.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
Drake.
oh,
Why?
lovely.